Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to take those really complex organizational structures and, well, give you the essential architecture, help you understand them quickly. Today, we are diving deep into the infrastructure behind something absolutely vital in any modern company: performance management. So our mission today really is to cut through all the noise. We're looking at the information needs, the technologies involved, and the systems, those interwoven systems organizations need not just to measure performance, but to actively manage it, especially now in this, fiercely competitive environment. We're talking about the engine room itself.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that the sources we're looking at, they don't just give us a checklist. They lay out this comprehensive visual overview. It's like an architectural roadmap.
Yeah.
Shows how performance data starts, how it flows, gets processed, and then ultimately how it informs decisions. It's not like four separate things. It's really a single loop, If one part breaks down,
The whole thing is compromised.
the whole system suffers.
That structural view is so important, isn't it? Because everything really does hang on the input. We have to start right there, where the raw material actually comes from. So let's talk about that first component, sources of information.
Right. And when organizations talk about information for control, well, they're kind of formalizing something that feels intuitive, but it's crucial. We absolutely have to cleanly separate the data that's generated inside the company from the data that exists outside, internal versus external.
And that separation, it's not trivial, is it? Internal sources, they're usually high volume, right?
Yeah.
Transactional, often real-time stuff like sales figures, manufacturing metrics, CRM updates, employee hours. It's the company's pulse, really.
That's a good way to put it, the heartbeat, yeah. But for managing performance strategically, you just can't be inward-looking. You absolutely need those external sources. They're generally lower volume, maybe, but they carry enormous strategic weight. Think about market trends or shifts in regulations, economic indicators, competitor intelligence. That's huge. And both types, internal and external, they share the same goal. They feed into the use of information in control.
Okay, so internal data is the pulse, external is the atmosphere around the patient, maybe. And this goal, control, it implies, well, two quite different kinds of action, doesn't it?
It really does. Internal data, that's key for, let's call it operational control. Spotting things like inventory issues or quality defects right as they happen allows for quick fixes. External data, though, that's the foundation for strategic control. It lets executives, see market shifts coming, adapt budgets, change product lines proactively. Because if you only look internally, you might be doing things perfectly.
But perfectly executing a wrong plan.
Exactly. Perfectly executing the wrong strategy entirely.
That makes total sense. But, okay, let's be honest. Getting the right data, that's only half the job. Once that river of information starts flowing in structured metrics, messy external reports, whatever, you can't just let it pile up, which pushes us straight into the second critical piece, managing information. This is like the control tower, setting the rules.
Yeah, this step is the gatekeeper, really. It sets the standards before you can even think about analysis. Management here really means governance. And the sources highlight four essential elements you need. First, the basic infrastructure, information technology, the hardware, cloud, networks, everything needed to handle the sheer volume and speed.
Okay, the pipes, and then the three things that make sure we can actually trust what's flowing through those pipes: data quality, data security, and the rules around confidential information.
Right. And what's genuinely insightful here, I think, is the focus on quality. We all hear garbage in, garbage out, right? But the reality is, well, it's more complex. The sources stress that tons of organizations struggle not just with errors, but with data lineage tracking. They know data's bad, but they can't trace it back. Which system, which department, who made the error?
So they can't fix the root cause.
Precisely. So if you, listening, are prepping for a performance meeting, remember, quality isn't just about perfect numbers. It's about having a traceable history. If you can't trace the lineage, you can't fix the systemic issue that created the bad data. And that makes all your performance metrics kind of suspect.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. Quality becomes structural, not just a checkbox. What about security? In today's world, is security just defense, or does it actually help performance?
Well, it absolutely enables it, especially when you talk about confidential information. Data security, that's the perimeter fence, keeping bad actors out, protecting metric integrity. But managing confidential information, that's about internal permissions. Who gets to see what? If you don't have strict controls over, say, individual employee reviews or secret financial models, you lose trust. And trust is essential for accountability, for transparency. So it's control that allows for that selective, trust-based sharing needed for performance talks.
Okay, right. So we sourced the data, we secured it, validated it using governance rules. Now what? We need to turn that raw stuff into something useful, which takes us smoothly into the third area, the operational engine room, information systems and data processing. Now, in this modern competitive world, we hear a lot about AI, big data, all the buzzwords. But our sources remind us start with the real foundation, and they point specifically to accounting information systems, AIS. Why are these, well, seemingly older systems still so fundamental?
That's a great question because, yeah, people sometimes think they're outdated. But AIS, they're the transactional heart. They handle the money, plain and simple. They are the undisputed source of truth for financial performance, revenue, costs, profit. Big data might tell you why sales dipped somewhere, but the AIS tells you exactly how much money was involved. You just can't build reliable performance models without those accurate financial coordinates.
Got it. The financial bedrock.
Exactly. And underpinning all of that is the standard operational backbone, the data processing cycle. Input, storage, processing, output. It's that repeatable sequence. You need this cycle to turn messy raw transactions into usable aggregated data sets. It ensures consistency, which is vital, for comparing performance over time.
So AIS gives us the authoritative numbers. The cycle ensures consistency.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets, well, really interesting. Connecting that foundation to modern competitive advantage. How do we make the leap from just logging transactions to doing advanced analysis today?
We do that with technologies built for scale and complexity. This is where data mining and big data really come in. Data mining uses specialized software, often driven by machine learning, to sift through massive data sets, structured or unstructured, looking for hidden patterns, correlations, anomalies, things a human might just miss.
So it finds the needles in the haystack.
Kind of, yeah. For performance management, data mining takes you beyond just descriptive analytics. What happened last quarter? It moves you towards predictive and even prescriptive analytics. What will happen if we do X? Or what should we do right now?
And that naturally brings us to big data, which isn't just lots of data, right? The sources highlight those three dimensions: volume, velocity, and variety.
Right. The sheer volume and the velocity, the speed it comes at you means old systems just, well, they break. But the variety, that might be the toughest challenge for performance management. You're dealing with everything. Structured financial records, unstructured text, emails, video, social media. Taming that variety requires really sophisticated systems that can harmonize and standardize all these different inputs. You need a unified view of performance. Otherwise, you're comparing apples and oranges. This whole processing engine is how that massive amount of modern info gets wrangled and analyzed to give you insights, not just more noise.
Okay. Sourced it, managed it, processed it. Now, the final mile, the crucial step. Turning that structured data into insight that actually drives action. This is the fourth piece. Presenting and interpreting data. It feels absolutely critical. Perfect data is useless if the decision maker can't quickly grasp the performance story, right?
Exactly. The big goal here is data visualization. Taking complex numbers and translating them into a visual language people can digest quickly. And the source material lists a whole toolkit. Tables, graphs, bar charts, line charts, pie charts, even the specialized scatter diagram.
Tables are great for detail, sure, but you can lose the big picture shake. Graphs, charts, they give you that instant pattern recognition. I want to zoom in, though, on the specific purpose of some of these. We know line charts show trends over time, but what about the scatter diagram? It sounds a bit academic.
It might sound it, but it serves a really unique, essential role in performance measurement. It's all about identifying correlation, the relationship between two different variables. Say you want to know if putting more money into marketing, variable 1 directly relates to higher sales in a specific region, variable 2. A scatter diagram plots those data points visually. You immediately see if there's a relationship, how strong it is, which direction it goes. You use it to test hypotheses about cause and effect, which is fundamental if you want to make changes to improve performance.
Okay. Testing connections.
Right. But, and this is a big but, just presenting the data isn't enough. The critical final step is the appropriate use of these tools. That requires proper interpretation after you present. And this is where, frankly, a lot of companies stumble. They pick the chart that looks nicest or the one they always use.
Not the one that actually tells the true story.
Exactly. They don't pick the one that fits the data and the question being asked.
Can you give us a quick, real-world example where picking the wrong visual totally messes up the understanding of performance.
Sure, easy one. Let's say a manager wants to show their team's monthly performance for the last year, and they decide, oh, I'll use a pie chart. Because, they look neat, everyone knows them. But a pie chart is designed to show static proportions, parts of a whole, like market share right now or a budget breakdown for this quarter, a snapshot.
Percentages of a total at one point in time.
Exactly. So if you try to cram 12 months of sequential data into a pie chart, well, you get 12 slices showing monthly proportions. It tells you nothing about momentum. Is performance going up, down, flat? The pie chart completely hides the trend. A simple line chart would have instantly shown the trajectory. Was performance improving, declining, fluctuating, choosing the wrong diagram, or even, say, fiddling with the scale on a bar chart to make changes look bigger or smaller? It fundamentally distorts the performance story, which leads to bad decisions, the wrong strategic response. Interpretation is that check step. Does this visual actually accurately tell the story in the data?
Wow, okay. That really brings it full circle, doesn't it? How a high-level choice about a chart depends entirely on the quality of data that might have started as just one transaction in an internal system.
Absolutely. So if we pull it all together, this architecture for successful performance measurement, it relies on four tightly integrated parts. You need reliable sources, rigorous management rules, governance, quality, security, then sophisticated systems processing from AIS right up to big data tech. And finally, effective ways of presenting and interpreting the results. All four have to work together seamlessly. That's how you get real competitive advantage.
It's a huge amount of ground we've covered, really. Everything from basic data integrity checks right through to the strategic use of, say, a scatter diagram. So as you think about this whole integrated system, we want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Given this massive push for both speed, big data, velocity, and for security, managing confidential information, which of those two goals, speed versus security, do you think is creating the most strategic friction for organizations right now? Is the intense focus we see on data security becoming so pervasive that it's actually slowing down the necessary flow of information? The agility needed for modern performance management, that trade-off, that tension between protection and agility, well, that's often what separates the real strategic leaders from the followers. Something to think about.